welcome to Speaking of Sports. I'm your host, Jared Slack. Everybody knows Major League Baseball is right around the corner. Spring training has started. This week I'm going to give you my 2020 MLB predictions for the season. I'm just going to go through each individual division and show you how I have their outcome for their division. I'm going to start in the American League East. I have the Yankees on top of their division. Rays coming in second, and it's a close second. They had a really good team last year, and they're going to take a step up. Red Sox, Blue Jays, and then Orioles. Blue Jays came out saying that they're not going to be tanking again. They're going to be going for wins, which they still don't have a good ball club all around, but they're still going to be better than the Orioles. The American League Central have Twins top of their division. Indians, White Sox, who made a few moves during the offseason, acquired some veteran pitching. They got Nomar Mazara from the Texas Rangers. They got quite a bit of different players playing this year for them. Kansas City Royals and then Detroit Tigers coming in last. In the American League West, the Athletics coming in first, Astros second. The Astros are kind of a toss-up because they could take all this heat for what happened in 2017 and completely collapse, not have the same team that they had in the past, or they could come together, and this could be the season where they're trying to prove everybody wrong. Then I have the Rangers, Angels, and Mariners. Rangers and the Angels are going to be competing for the Rangers. But in my opinion, the Rangers are going to be competing for that second wild card spot with the Astros. They might not be as close, but they'll be closer to the Astros are than the Angels are to the Rangers. Now in the National League East, I got the Phillies, who made a lot of moves as well this offseason. The Nationals, the defending World Series champs. The Atlanta Braves, the Mets, and the Marlins. And that was a really tough division because, you know, the Mets had a fairly good run last year late in the season post All-Star break, which landed them a wild card spot. So the only thing I have for sure in that division is the Marlins in last place. NL Central, this is another tough division. I have the Cubs, Cardinals, Pirates, Brewers, then the Reds. NL West, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, and the Rockies. I have a couple things coming out of this division. The Dodgers had 106 wins last year. And to that 106 win team, regular season wins, they added Mookie Betts this offseason. They're going to be a very tough competitor coming up in 2020. Another thing, I have the Rockies in last. I believe they came out saying they didn't want to trade Nolan Arenado, and both sides of the player, Nolan Arenado, and the Rockies have an agreement in the contract. It's a no-trade clause, which both parties would have to agree to be traded. And the Rockies said no, they weren't getting enough for him from other teams, so they said no. In my opinion, the Rockies are going to get off to a bad start and then possibly trade him mid-season before the All-Star break. And he just now got that deal last year. I think it was a 5-year deal. So whoever gets him has to give up a lot because they still got control of him for 3 or 4 more years, I believe. And once they get rid of him, they're going to be on a decline. My American League representatives for the World Series are going to be the Yankees. They're going to be a tough out this year. They have a great team, great all-around team. In the National League, I have the Dodgers, and I picked the Dodgers winning it all this year. Thanks it's their time. They spent enough money. They're still probably going to be going after some pieces, whether it be pitching pieces around the trade deadline, stuff like that. So my pick for the 2020 World Series champs will be the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm going to go on to the NFL. I'm going to talk about the 2020 mock draft. This was from someone at ESPN. There's tons of these mock drafts, so every single one of them is different. This is just one of them. One of them that I liked. A lot of interesting stuff that you can talk about here. Number 1, Joe Burrow, quarterback to the Bengals. A lot of stuff coming out this week about Joe Burrow might not want to play for the Bengals. It's not a very good organization and stuff like that. All this stuff is rumors. We're not for sure if it's true or not. Number 2, Chase Young, the edge rusher from Ohio State to the Redskins. Another good tip to know, Redskins were also, they might be in a hunt for quarterback. Even though they got Dwayne Haskins last year, they could go ahead and steal Tua at number 2. And that would, it'd be kind of the same situation the Cardinals were in last year with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray. It'd be something on the lines of that. And then Isaiah Simmons, safety linebacker, had a Clemson to the Lions. Number 4 overall pick, Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle, Alabama to the Giants. Here's one little note I would like to talk about. That's an offensive tackle to the Giants, 4th overall. I feel like if that was to happen, which is good for their quarterback situation, and because Daniel Jones was all over the place last year, you'll kind of see this and young quarterbacks going after this mock draft. But that's going to have a lot to do with the young quarterback. It's going to have a lot to do with Jason Garrett. He's going to build that offensive line and do the same thing he did with the Cowboys. And I think it was 2014 and on. That's whenever they picked Zach Martin, then Travis Frederick, and they created that enormous offensive line. And I'm kind of afraid that's what they're going to do over there in New York. And then Tua T, Alabama quarterback to the Dolphins, which that's who they wanted all this whole time. That was the beginning of the season. It was tanking for Tua for the Dolphins. And with his injury situation, with his hip and everything, and his injury history in college, I don't know if that's going to change anybody's opinion on Tua, but we shall see. Then, right after that, Justin Herbert, quarterback from Oregon, to the Chargers to replace Phillip Rivers. Derek Brown, defensive tackle, Auburn to Panthers. Number 8, Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle, Iowa to the Cardinals. There's another situation. They're taking care of their young quarterback. Kyler Murray ran around in the pocket, ran all over that field. He snapped the ball, and there was 11 people chasing after him, and that was not good. Number 9, Jeff Okudah, quarterback for Ohio State to the Jags. Now, I was listening to the radio the other day. They were saying if Okudah falls to number 9, this could possibly be one of the best people in the draft right here. Many Pro Bowls to come. The Cowboys might be thinking trading up to get him. And there's a lot of math that goes into it. What all would have to equal that first-round pick. But that's a name to keep in mind, because if somebody like that drops to 9, it might be worth coming up from 17. Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, Georgia, and he's going to the Browns. There's another situation. Young quarterback, Baker Mayfield. He was running all over the field last year, and they're looking to upgrade that position for him. Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle to the Jets. Jordan Love, here's another quarterback, Utah State to the Raiders. The Raiders are not confident in Derek Carr, and it's very unfortunate. I think it was in 2016, Derek Carr had a great season, and ever since that, he's been on a steep decline. 13, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama. He's going to the Colts, and this might be the replacement for T.Y. Hilton. He does have a lot of injury throughout the season. Jerry Jeudy is he's a big wide receiver. He's got the speed. He's got the 50-50 ball, stuff like that. A big wide receiver. People like him. Then you got Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle, South Carolina. This is another person the Cowboys absolutely love, but he's so good that he's not going to get to 17. Nearly guarantee it. He is the best defensive tackle in the draft. He is an absolute beast. He's from South Carolina, and the Buccaneers are going to pick him in this mock draft. C.J. Henderson, cornerback, Florida, to the Broncos. Let's see. Kalavon Cherison, he's an edge rusher from LSU, to the Falcons. And then now you get to 17, a name I haven't said yet, and I was excited hearing this the other day. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver from Oklahoma, to the Cowboys. What this does for the Cowboys, if they have to, unfortunately, they're going to have to cut their losses. That first-round pick they gave up last year, cut Amari Cooper, saved $20 million, and now you got a number one receiver that is the same Amari Cooper style wide receiver. He is a great route runner, lots of speed. He's probably faster than Amari Cooper also. But but if you were to put the tag on Amari Cooper or even sign him to a deal, this is you could be in a 3 wide receiver set, 4 wide receiver set, nearly every single play, and Dak would just throw that ball around the field. He doesn't have to be deep routes all the time. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are all quick wide receivers to where he can get the ball out of his hands as quick as possible. And this would be a lot of points on the board in 2020 for the Cowboys if that was to happen. Then Trayvon Diggs, cornerback, Alabama to Dolphins. Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma to the Raiders. The Raiders really did have a bad linebacking core last year, so that would be a huge asset for them. Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU Jags. They got to rebuild that defense that they had a couple years ago. That was just a crazy good defense. And you got Henry Ruggs III, Alabama, receiver to the Eagles. The Eagles have a few different options that they need to do this upcoming draft because they have to figure out their cornerback situation and they have to figure out their wide receiver stuff. So they might also have to build around the offense because they got a great center, but other than that, they don't have very much. That's also what I was saying is this is a crazy good wide receiver draft. They're going to be receivers deep in the draft in the 3rd, 4th round that could be starters, kind of like a Michael Gallup style wide receiver. So if they want to pass on a wide receiver in the 1st round, that's probably fine. If you could get you're going to find a better receiver in the 3rd or 4th round than you will a cornerback, especially a starting cornerback. So that might be where they want to go, in my opinion. AJ Espinza, edge, Iowa to the Bills. I forgot his name. He would also be going with that Houston defensive tackle that they picked up last year, who is he was a great asset for their team. Xavier McKinney, safety, Alabama to the Patriots. Xavier McKinney is somebody also that the Cowboys might look into upgrading that safety position. Also coming up, I have another one that's my personal favorite. Christian Fulton, cornerback, LSU Saints. Saints had a pretty good defensive core last year, but that doesn't mean you can't upgrade it. DeAndre Swift, running back, Georgia to the Dolphins. So the Dolphins have, I believe, 4 picks, maybe 3 picks in the 1st round. If I pronounced this name wrong, I do apologize. Yetur Gross Matos, edge, Penn State for the Seahawks. Zach Bond, outside linebacker, Wisconsin. And then I did skip over one. 25, back to 25, we're at 28. Grant Delpit, safety, LSU to the Vikings. And this was the safety I was talking about earlier. The weakest part of your team is the safety position. And Grant Delpit is that ball hawk type safety that you're looking for. He would bring interceptions to the table. If your cornerbacks continue to do what they do and they are locked down corners, they don't get interceptions, but they don't let. It's just got blanket coverage, but not as much interceptions and turnovers due to the blanket coverage. Then you got somebody like Grant Delpit that is a ball hawk and takes care of everything else outside of that. So, in my opinion, that would be the safety to get if you were to go in that go that route. So then you have number 29, Austin Jackson, offensive tackle, USC Titans. I think, especially if they go the route of signing Derrick Henry and then franchise tagging Ryan Tannehill, they need somebody to protect them both, because they need that running game to keep going in order for Ryan Tannehill to have another successful season. And number 30, Jacob Eason, quarterback, Washington. That's the fifth quarterback that goes in this first round right here. It's good for teams like the Cowboys or so. You get a bunch of quarterbacks go off the board, and that means somebody else drops down to your position that you wanted to drop down. And you got Cameron Danzel, cornerback, Mississippi State, to the 49ers. Maybe somebody that could shadow Richard Sherman, learn from him before he retires. And then 32, Marlon Davidson, edge rusher, Auburn Chiefs. And, after they got rid of D Ford last year, their line was better than it was the year prior. But the year prior, they led the league in sacks. That might have been due to the opposing team passing it the whole time, because they're always trying to catch up to the Chiefs and their crazy offense that they have, putting up so many points. That could have been why. So whenever you have somebody that's passing it so much, it just leads to they're more accessible to the sack, I guess you would say. So yeah, for the Chiefs, it would be an upgrade for them in that position, and that is the 2020 NFL mock draft. To talk a little bit about the Dallas Mavericks. On Monday night, they played the Timberwolves. They won 139 to 123. Their offense went off. And on top of that, Luka and Porzingis did not play the fourth quarter at all. So a lot of that come the fourth quarter was your bench players like Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, people like that. Also, you lost Jalen Brunson in that game. He had I think he had a separated shoulder, so he's going to be out for the next 2 games at least, very minimum. Then on Wednesday night, they played the Spurs in San Antonio. And the Mavericks haven't won a game in San Antonio in, I don't remember if it was the last 2 or last 4 years. And the Mavericks won 109 to 103. Luka Doncic had his 21st triple-double before the age of 21. He surpassed Jason Kidd for the franchise all-time triple-double leader. Let's see here. Okay, so Luka Doncic had 26 points, 14 assists, 10 rebounds. Luka had 7 assists in the first quarter alone, and most of those were to Porzingis, who had, in the first quarter, he had 16 points by himself. That was in the first quarter. And in the end, Kristaps Porzingis had 28 points, 1 assist, 12 rebounds, which is a big boy double-double. Luka Doncic played 37 minutes. Kristaps Porzingis played 29 minutes. A couple other people that are really starting to stand out. Seth Curry is getting hot at the right time. He is looking very good, shooting the ball very well. Another person who's shooting the ball very well is Tim Hardaway Jr., which they were talking the other day. In the trade with Kristaps Porzingis, you got You got DeLon Wright, and then you got Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. was more like a salary dump for the Knicks. They didn't want the contract. He wasn't producing. And as of right now, it's kind of like S2E42 with the Rangers. He wasn't producing for his contract at the time. He's kind of developed into that contract. When I say developed, I mean he fits more what he makes. He deserves what he makes, and that is what Tim Hardaway Jr. is doing right now. He's playing into his role, catch and shoot guy, but he can also be on a championship team. He's probably anywhere between the 5th and possibly the 7th best player on your team. And right now he's the 3rd. So if that says anything, you need 2 to 3 more people, good pieces, to be a championship contender. And within the next 2 to 3 years, I do believe that's going to happen. And I'm so excited for this Mavericks. For this week, thanks for listening to Speaking of Sports. Make sure to tune into the podcast, like it, share it, download the app, comment on it if you have any sports-related questions, or message me personally, and I'll try to get them answered on next week's show. Thank you for listening to Speaking of Sports. I've been your host, Jared Slack.